You're chilling in the rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling in the rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
And Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napashka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to the ride.
Welcome to the ride, everybody.
You got it. Welcome to the ride.
Chevy.
Oh, okay. Welcome back. Welcome, guys. It's the Ride with Chevy and Nasty, episode 83. I know it says 82 up there, but it's actually 83. Brought to you every week by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. We're back in the saddle. It's summertime. There's lots going on in the city. Just wrapping up the Stampede. People are in, people are out. Even we're in and are out. Sometimes it's not that it's tough for us to get in, but we got lots going on. I know you're really busy, Sheldon. It's probably the best times of the year to shoot real estate photography. It's getting busy for me at work. I got back to work this week after 2 weeks off, and that's always a grind. But here we are, Tuesday Night Live. We got our small but mighty following, or as my girlfriend calls it, our sausage party. But it kind of is, right? Like, I don't know if I take that. I don't know if I take that as an insult, because she listens to podcasts, right? And the podcasts that my girlfriend listens to are very much geared towards women's fashion, reality TV shows, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And ours is geared towards guy stuff. And when we started this, we started with trying to lean into what we knew and we're comfortable with, which is sports, but also men's health, right? Like, we're not straying from the mission, are we?
No, if I look back at where this thing started and to what we're doing now, we've been able to keep ourselves pretty focused, which is actually honestly impressive, dude. I've roomed with you for 3 years with the Stamps. We both have our ADHD tendencies, but we've been able to keep it pretty on point and to build the team along the way. Daryl McKenna, Bruno, met a bunch of amazing guys that we've had as guests or done events with, and
And
Yeah,
Trey,
it's been a ride.
and intrepid Trey. Like what you don't notice, and Trey thinks I didn't notice, is that he's so smooth. He changed the 82 at the top to 83 without us even noticing.
Wow.
That's how smooth he is. So even Trey, who's rocking the buttons in the back and makes an appearance after his hole in one last year. This is, I believe, this is the first episode of year 2 for Trey. So he's pushing the buttons, making us look good, and we're glad that you all join us tonight. From Bruno to Daryl to Rob Evans to Dine and Dash Dad Chad Smith. 83rd episode brings with it a list of some great players. So let's put those up, Sean. Let's talk about some of these guys.
Oh, well, there you go.
You're an Oilers fan, so tell me a little bit about Alex Hemsky. Does he do anything for you?
To be honest with you, that was during my I remember when he was there, but that was in my period where I wasn't really following the NHL. It wasn't until about 3-4 years ago that I really started. So I don't have any good Hemsky stories for you. But the guy on that,
I was going to just say, the thing with where we're at now in the numbers is most sports don't have enough people to get up into the 80s. Like hockey players, obviously, there's only about 25 guys on a team. And, obviously the great one wore 99 and you got the 66s and the 88s. But there's not, but in football, there are enough guys to populate those numbers. So in general, once we're up at this high a number, from 80s all the way up until the 90s, it's going to be football players. It's definitely going to be football players, right?
Yeah, and there's some good ones up there. Like for me, a guy that that brings back a lot of memories for me is Welker up there. Kind of an undersized guy, but just had amazing hands. He could find his way in the zone. He learned how to beat guys in man. Just an absolute difference maker on that Patriot offense for all those years. I actually forgot about him until I just looked at that picture right now. I didn't know he was 83.
And he was that prototype player that Bill Belichick, I think he brought him over from Miami, if I'm not mistaken. But every year, Bill Belichick had one of those guys on his roster, whether it was Welker for a number of years, and then obviously the great Julian Edelman, that type of receiver, not the short white guy, but the short, slot back type guy that finds a hole, very much in the grain of Wayne Corbett. If you remember Wayne Corbett from the New York Jets days, or even before that, was it Don Beebe? Who was it for the Buffalo Bills? That was that little. Then his son that played in the CFL for the Hamilton Ticats.
That's probably Beebe.
Yeah, probably Beebe or that was a different name. We'll figure it out. But speaking of the Bills, the great Ed Reed played for the Buffalo Bills. I believe it was 16 years. And, was on those 4 Super Bowl losing teams. But, I mean, you don't get the 4 Super Bowls in a row without having a great team. I mean, what happens on the Sunday that game shows up is anybody's game when you get there, with probably represented by the 2 best teams in the league at that point. But to get there, to grind through a 16-game season or 16-week season, and then 4 games of playoffs to get to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. I know we're going to remember them for losing, but to get there, you've got to have some greatness. And Ed Reed was part of that greatness. It took him a while to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, every year he was always up against some great receivers. He got bumped by Chris Carter. He got bumped by Jerry Rice.
That's what happens when you lose 4 Super Bowls. And I appreciate your spin. And it is true. That is so hard to get to the dance year after year because it's a brand new team, brand new circumstances. But, Chev, I think if it was me, I mean, that would be a weight on my shoulders, I think, for the rest of my non-playing football career, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get the AFC Championship every year and you lose. He was part of one of the greatest comebacks in history against, I think it was the Bills versus the Houston Oilers. If I'm not mistaken, Frank Reich took over in that game, and that was a huge game. But or was it Houston Oilers that came back against the Bills? I don't know. Either way, he didn't get his Super Bowl. And, but he's still in the Hall of Fame in a great 83. But the 83 that I wanted to highlight, the one that I'm most familiar with, would be the 83 of the Calgary Stampeders that I played with, which was Romby Bryant. I don't know if Trey's got a picture of Romby up there, but Romby was a great receiver for the Calgary Stampeders. We got him in the trade for Odell Willis. I don't know if you remember Odell Willis.
Oh, yeah,
Become one of the greatest sack masters of the modern era of CFL. Like, he was a rookie in the locker room. In fact, there's a great clip about him talking about his rookie season where I was rubbing my butt with hot sauce or the hot and cold rub before the game. Yeah, because I used to do that to the rookies, and he was a rookie, but he got traded midway through that season. It was very rare for CFL to make a trade in a season, and we traded Odell Willis and I believe Titus Ryan was the other receiver to the Blue Bombers in exchange for Romby Bryant and RJ Franklin, who became two very productive members of the Stampeders. But many people remember Romby as being a really tough receiver, very fast, and I believe it was against the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 2012 to seal the trip to the Grey Cup, where Drew Tate tossed, I believe, is a 110-yard lob to Romby, and he just ran it down the sideline for a touchdown, which sent us to Toronto for the Grey Cup. So Romby was a great teammate. He's a pretty intense dude, and for me, he's the highlight of the 83rd episode,
Romby
at least
Bryant.
as far as the athletes. Yeah, Romby Bryant.
Now,
speaking of
memory lane.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of highlights of the show, I mean, the athletes are the highlights, but really the highlight of this episode is going to be the poetry.
Of course,
is it going to be the poetry? Yeah. Well, let's hit a trade. Let's keep the show on the road. Let's keep rolling.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
We're Chevy and Nasty. We're poets on this Tuesday night. If you spot us at the buffet, we'll be 300 pounds heavy, not light.
To be in a rodeo at Stampede, you got to have a tough chin. But tonight, we talk cowboy mental health as the rodeo lights dim.
The CFL schedule is 1/3 of the way completed. Some teams are surprising by how much they've won or how much they've been defeated.
In a game that was almost canceled because of poor air conditions, we almost got robbed in battle for the first place position.
But when the dust settled, and maybe some damage to a lung, the Stampeders were dominant, and the Riders were bung.
Bung. Can you say bung?
Bung,
Yeah.
bung.
This wasn't our best work. Of that, we can both agree. But the ride always rolls on, and that we can guarantee. We could even use the word bumpy.
Bumpy
Hit
for
a-
what?
I don't know, like
Guaranteed?
instead, like rhyme with agree. We could have used bumpy, hit a tree.
Hit a tree. Hit a tree would have been good. In fact,
hit a
that's going to
tree.
be my challenge to you in the month of August, to come up, like, just have a line and then write a verse around it. And
Yeah.
there you go.
Well,
Anyway, well
did you-
done. As always, 300-pound
Thanks.
poetry has been Chevy's specialty since going back to, I'll say 2005 when we started the radio show. But I know you were doing
Yeah.
that in Montreal for years before that. But yeah, Chev, that wasn't bad. That was a good one. Easy to read.
Wasn't great. Easy to flush. It was a one flusher. I don't know if you noticed, but I got a cool little light behind me there. You see that little sign I got there? It says
Oh,
li-
the blue LED. Yeah.
Yeah, does it say live? Can you read it?
It
Can you
looks
read
like
that?
it says love from here.
Well, it actually says live. You know what? I got it at the London Drugs. I was walking to the London Drugs and I saw it for like $5. There was 3 signs. There's one that said on air, one that said live, and another one that said live. I was gonna get one for all of us, and I forgot. And I went back the next day, and this is the only one that was left. So I got that.
Yeah, you know, for me, because even last week, so last week was Amazon Prime Day, which is now like 4 days, and they've got all those specials on electronics and different gadgets and things like that. And every year I forget about it. So this year was going to be the year that come hell or high water, I would get on there, I would source out the things that I wanted to get, and I would buy them and add them behind me. But once again, Chev, I forgot.
Pass through. Well, one thing we're not going to forget, and speaking of new things, is we mentioned the poem, The Rodeo Lights Dimmed. And, some of the greatest athletes on earth, between the cowboys, the cowgirls, the horses, the cattle, the bulls, like some of the greatest physical performances.
Whoa. And with that, Chevy checks out. Trey, I might get you to get
Sorry,
on here.
Chevy was having some internet issues there,
No,
at
that's
least
fine.
on my end.
He looked
was
good
he
on
cutting
my
out
end,
for you?
but,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but he was just setting up Daryl's Cowboy Confessions, I believe. Something that, and I haven't actually gone through those yet. So Chevy, you were just about to talk about Daryl's Cowboy
We
Confessions.
did now.
Yeah. No, I was always good. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Maybe
Might
maybe
be
your
me
internet
then.
sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's my internet then, but you were cutting out bad there. I thought maybe I'd just put an end to it. But anyways,
No
go on.
worries.
I'll leave the stage to
Yeah.
you guys.
So some of the greatest and toughest athletes in the world, and with that, the bright lights. You see all the reels, you see the social media. It's a big deal. It's glitzy, it's glamorous. There's prize money. It's spectacle that you don't really see anywhere else in North America. And when the lights go out, these athletes go home to their regular jobs, their regular grind. The struggle that many athletes do as they're trying to survive and play their sport and support their families. And there's a lot going on in the rodeo world that we don't know about. And our good friend, Daryl McAvina, Performance Freight Management, one of our partners in our podcast in the mental health movement, decided that, he's going to use his access to these athletes and really start talking about mental health in that world and bring it to light. Because we did the men's movie night, the mental health movie night last year. We did one this year. And really this year was that was the launch of the mental health movement. You and Daryl and Brett Gardner did a fantastic episode. And I encourage you, if you haven't seen that episode, go back to the archives on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Look for the interview with Brett Gardner when we talk about mental health. And that's kind of what we're leaning into. And we really want to kick the show off with that. So Daryl did a fantastic job, produced these shorts that are now available on the mental health movement network. So there's a YouTube page, Instagram, Facebook, and let's roll one of the first ones here. And let's see what Daryl produced for us.
My name is Felipe Massetti. We're currently at the Calgary Stampede, and I work on the broadcast team here. I do the tie-down roping and the breakaway roping. When I finished my first trip from Canada to Brazil, I just went into a deep hole. I faced depression, reoccurring nightmares, anxiety. I had a really hard moment in my life because I lost purpose. I worked so hard to achieve that goal of that first journey that I never thought about what comes next. So today I see how important mental health is and how important it is to have a purpose and to talk about mental health, because when I was facing that moment, I held it in. I'm a cowboy, and we're always taught to not show vulnerability, to be strong. And I didn't talk to anyone about it. So it was a really tough moment in my life, and I see how dangerous that was.
That's a really good idea that Daryl came up with there. One of the things, I love watching Stampede. In fact, I didn't get down to the grounds this year, but I did flip it onto the channel and caught some of the bull riding just because it is such a spectacle. It's kind of like during the Olympics. I don't think about Winter Olympics. I don't think about curling often.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Olympics, I'm all in. I'm dialed in. I'm yelling sweep. I'm calling the shots. I'm correcting errors. The same thing when I'm watching rodeo. I absolutely love to see these guys perform. Under the big lights, it's so exciting. But like any athlete, any performer, anybody in a high stress situation, that is the thing that we don't see, is when the lights are off, when you reach that pinnacle. Whether you won, whether you didn't win, it's really dark when you're taking off the gear and you're heading back home for another off season. Those are the times when all that self-doubt can really start creeping in on you. Those dark thoughts. You're not focused on anything. You're just left in a room all by yourself. In fact, I talked to one therapist once that says, for many people, the scariest thing that they could ever encounter, and Chevy, tell me if you relate, would be to say, I have a weekend to myself, but I'm going to spend it by myself in my own apartment for the next 48 hours and just spend it with my own thoughts. And when
Sheldon,
I hear a guy talking about the darkness,
Sheldon, you hit the nail on the head with that. I can totally relate, and so many levels, I don't even know where to start. You want me to start in sport? You want me to start in personal life? Because again, when we talk about Felipe's story, and totally relatable, like you said, we've talked about this before, that whether you win the championship or lose, which most people lose in a team sport, green garbage bag day feels the same. When you win, you just prolong that negative feeling for a few weeks because you get to enjoy that you celebrated, or even a few days, depending what type of athlete you are. But it always feels the same, that emptiness of purpose, that uncertainty of what's going to come next. Am I going to have a job next year? Like, Sheldon, the year you were basically told to retire,
Yeah.
or
when I was pushed out,
when you were pushed out, when you left the season before, you weren't planning on that, and you probably weren't thinking, oh, this is the year, right? You never know when it's the year. And same with what Felipe says. I mean, he traveled the Americas on a horse. You come back from that, you think, man, I accomplished something huge. I climbed Everest, I went to the moon. And you come back thinking, well, what's next? You'd think that someone that accomplished that would be high as a kite, yet you come back empty and sense of purpose. So I felt that in the athletic world. But if I take it even, like, just peel it back to a more visceral and personal level, I go through this discussion very often with my girlfriend. I mean, you guys know she lives in Red Deer. I get my kids part-time, so that means I get a Monday to Monday. And I've had a pretty full house the last couple of weeks. I've had my niece in town for a few weeks. I've had my kids for a couple of weeks, and I've been going back and forth to, whether it's my place, Brittany's place, having all our kids together, all our family together. Like, really, like, this is what I live for. I live to give, and I live to give to my family. And then all of a sudden, they go back to their moms on Monday. My niece stays in Red Deer. I'm driving back, and I instantly feel that emptiness. And what you said about being able to sit, I can't. And Brittany says it. She's like, you can't sit home alone. I know. The first thing I do when I get in the car in Red Deer, what do I do? What do I always tell you I do?
You start working down your phone list.
I work down my phone list. I cannot do, and I don't think it's anything wrong with me, but at the same point, there's sometimes where I question, can I just sit? Like, when I come home and I'm not calling you, or I'm not calling my mom. Like, I call my mom a lot. I call my sister a ton. I obviously call Brittany a lot, but if I've just seen her for a weekend, I usually try and give her a break. I don't know if I could just sit still. Like, I come home and I'm constantly cleaning. I'm constantly cooking. I'm constantly tinkering, pacing, because I can't settle my mind. So I totally get that. And I've had those dark moments, especially early on in my divorced life, when I didn't have my kids 7 days in a 14-day. I had them 2 days here, then 5 days off, then 1 day here, then 6 days off. And then I'd have them for 3 days. That was a very tough time because I didn't have a partner. I wasn't going out with anyone. And it was me and my dog. And my dog kept me company until he passed away. But I'll tell you what, I've experienced that, and I can understand that as a human being. And when we talk about men, we're always on a mission. We always have a purpose, a mission. And when you don't have anything to do with your hands or with your mind, with your brain that's purposeful and intentful, I think that's when, like you said, that doubt creeps in. That self-worth diminishes because you're like, well, I should be doing something.
The very fact that you don't have a clear purpose in front of you messes with your head.
Yeah.
Right. Because who am I as a guy? And it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you just won the Stanley Cup, the Grey Cup, the Super, whatever. That lasts for 24 to 48 hours.
Yep.
And then you can't sit there alone in a room and pat yourself on the back. You sit there and say, like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Right. Like, what's next? Why am I just sitting here? Why don't I feel this? And it gets in your head. And that's why a lot of times you do fill life with distraction. Friends move. Well, friends aren't a distraction. It's important. But I just always found it fascinating that if you were stuck in a space capsule or your basement by yourself, alone with your own thoughts, would you thrive from it or would it eat you alive? And I think for a lot of us, that would be the scariest thing, to be stuck with yourself for a prolonged period of time, just because without purpose, those voices and those thoughts and those doubts come in.
Actually, fantastic Adam Sandler movie on Netflix. I believe it's Spaceman. That really dives into that at this kind of science fiction movie type thing where he is on this capsule all by himself heading towards this gas cloud, and he's supposed to do something, but it's one of those typical science fiction type movie things, right? Like,
now take that to The Martian, right? With what's his name, where he did have a purpose. I'm here alone,
Matt Damon,
30 million miles from home. But I have one purpose, and that's to grow potatoes so I can survive. Right.
Yeah.
With a purpose, I think a man can thrive. When you lose a purpose, dude, it gets dark real fast.
Well, Rob Evans, he's fire chief at Redwood Meadows, and he was a 911 dispatcher. Great fan of the show. He puts in a great comment there. He says it can happen in emergency services too after a tough call, and absolutely. After a tough call, you go into a dark place. Like you're so hyped up and on that. You're part of that whole visceral experience of either trying to keep someone alive or managing a scene or even just managing safety of the scene. Then you come back and everything just shuts down, and it's very hard, but not just after a call, after a career. Like when you're in first response, when you're in police service, like you are constantly aware that the next call could be something that can alter your perception of life. You try and downplay it. You try and kind of normalize, hey, we're in the fire hall. Let's play ping pong. Let's cook a good meal. But you know that next call could be, a child that's dismembered in a vehicle.
Can I take it a step further, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
I imagine that guys like you would take great pride in that for the last 30 years, I'm the guy that I'm ready to go. I'm trained. I'm prepared. I will do the things that I know not everybody else can do, and I'm good at it. This is my purpose. This is who I am. And we talked about it before. When the day you step out of the locker room, you no longer have a locker room. You no longer are striving for the win. You are no longer the guy that can go out there and handle things that the regular people aren't equipped to do. That is a complete loss of purpose that if you're not prepared to deal with, I don't know how this conversation really went this way, but dude,
it went this way because it went this way. I'll tell you why, because of the fantastic work that Daryl has been putting in behind the scenes to keep, to keep our ragtag group of A team together. Because again, what we do has purpose. It seems very casual and blasé on the surface, this ride show, but this ride was the catalyst for everything we're doing. And then when you layer in the purposeful events that we did, like the men's mental health movie night and some of the other things that we're trying to work on, obviously we have schedules, we have lives, but we're doing a pretty good job with the group of people that we have in the network we're building to get the word out. And it started because we're having this conversation about Felipe Massetti's reel that Daryl shot for the mental health movement. And there's some fantastic work. We're going to have to take a break here, but basically Trey put up a lot of the links there. We could put them up here. We'll probably post them, but it's the mental health movement. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. We're on Instagram as well. And it's something we're building. Daryl did a fantastic job shooting and producing those videos with the Cowboys. And I'm sure we're going to do more stuff. And maybe we'll go down to McMahon Stadium and talk to some of the guys. Maybe we'll get some of the alumni. There's a lot of people that are buying in. Recently, the mental health movement was at the Stampeders alumni golf tournament. It was at the Calgary Firefighters Pensioners tournament. And these are all places where people who've had purpose have either had to redefine themselves or are still finding themselves. So this is the type of stuff we're doing. Fantastic work by Daryl and all our team to get this going. I think there's another clip. We'll take that clip into the break. And then when we come back, we'll get into some of the stuff we usually talk about, which is CFL and what's been going on in week 6. So Trey, if you could pop up that clip and then head us into break, we'll take a quick one and then we'll be right back with some football action.
Crossing the Americas on horseback, it made me really understand what mental fortitude is and that fear that we all have in here. You got to put it aside in order to live your dreams and try to achieve greatness. Every day out there, it wasn't the physical. Sure, it was hard being in the saddle 8 to 10 hours a day, and you don't shower at the end of the day. You sleep on top of your saddle pads. Your back hurts, your knee hurts, but it was all here. It was all mental. Every day I had to climb a mountain in my mind. I wanted to quit every day. I was afraid of things, and I had to conquer that in order to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
I'll give it to you now.
Welcome back to the ride, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that quick little break. And as Chevy was alluding to, it was like a small week in the CFL. There's only the 3 games, but there were some big things happening, including our first game delay of the season. Probably the only one we'll see. That's not that common of a thing. Talking about the first place riders hosting the up and coming Calgary Stampeders. Chev, where do you want to start with this one?
Well, I think we have to start with the overriding story, which was the smoke delay. I think this is being referred to. It became
the overriding story. Like, I was excited about the game just because, okay, who is the best in the West? Right?
Well, and that's the thing. If we go back to last week, a week ago, we set this up to be the game of the year to this point. The Riders 4-0, hosting the Stampeders 3-1, and I believe we said it. The Stampeders are surprising some people. We didn't think they were going to be as good as they are. And they're making some steady improvements. They definitely don't look like the Stampeders of last year. Vernon Adams is looking great. Phil Potts looking great. He's finding some new targets. Even with Juwan Breskison, not Jerome, Reggie Bagleton getting hurt. They're finding ways to complete passes. They had a strong run game out the gates, but they're doing good things. And I don't think people expected them to beat Winnipeg 2 weeks ago. And I don't think people expect them to walk into Regina and do what they did. But before they could do what they did, we experienced what was a very rare, not just a delay. Like, we've seen rain delays in Winnipeg. We've seen rain delays in Saskatchewan before. This was a smoke delay. And, I remember it was Friday night and I was driving home from downtown. I was with my niece and I clicked on the radios on QR 770. Great job by that broadcast crew: Jock Stevens, Jock Wilson, Mark Stevens, and Greg Peterson. And I'm listening to them, and I'm like, well, shouldn't the game have started by now? It's like, I think it was like 7 o'clock or 7:30 at this point. I'm like, well, they should be well into the game. And I said, is there a rain delay? And I look at my niece. I said, she doesn't know much about football. And I said, they must be in a rain delay. And I was listening for and then you find out that they're waiting for the air quality to dip from a 10 to a 7, or I don't even know what the number it is, but that's almost like impossible to have to predict that, right? Like, I mean, I've never seen an air quality delay before, right? And this we've talked about this at the beginning of the year with all the increase in the wildfires and the smoke and all this and that. Like, this is new, right? This is not something we've ever seen before.
Yeah, just really the last few years. And I know Calgary's been threatened before too, because a couple of years, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had like crazy forest fires in BC and northern Alberta. So it did come down to the wire. And I think one game was delayed slightly, but usually in the evening, the air gets a little bit more dense. It pushes things down or pushes them out. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know, but I was fully expecting that game would continue. But as the night goes on, you start, it almost became awkward. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's play the game. Well, we're going to give it half an hour. We're going to give it an hour. The panel keeps going on, coming up with stories on TSN to talk about. And at one point, even as a viewer, you're like, come on, just call the bloody game. Play it tomorrow. We'll figure something out, right? But
and I guess that's got to be more annoying when you're watching on TV, which I didn't even dawn on me because I'm driving in the car, right? So I'm listening to the radio, and it doesn't really matter to me if the game starts or not. But if you're on TV and you're watching these guys just talking, eventually it's like, well, by the time I got home, they cut out to the TSN's top 50, pre-recorded, whatever. But the guys on the air on QR, they were doing a great job trying to fill time, but at some point they ran through all their material. And I even texted Jock Wilson. I was just heading into Costco. I know it was 8 p.m. And Costco's closed at 8:30. And I said, you guys are doing a great job filling time. He's like, hey, you want to come on the show? I was like, sure. So I jumped on, and my niece got a kick out of that.
Did you jump on? Okay, you did. Okay,
cool. Yeah, I did jump on. So I did an interview while I was sitting in the Costco parking lot with my sister, with my niece, and she got a kick out of it. But we just chatted about the game, and talked a little bit about my long snapping and stuff. But
well, let me ask you this, Michelle. Let me ask you this. So, like, I've been involved in rain delays from lightning and things like that before, but you were involved years ago. As a player in I think it was in Toronto, where there's a massive blackout. And you couldn't play. You're in the Sky Dome. You couldn't play the game. Did you guys end up playing that game that night, or did you have to play the next day? And what was that like as a player on the sideline? Because you're prepared, you're all amped up, you have your schedule throughout the day, you do it the same way every week. And for me, by the time it got to game time, I didn't even like to stop for the national anthem. I just wanted to go, right?
Yeah.
What was that like to go through that delay?
Well, that was in 2003, and I was with the Edmonton Eskimos at the time, and we were in Toronto, as you mentioned, and that great East Coast blackout. I think it took the power out from all of Ontario and upstate New York. At the time, we're still dealing with the post 9/11 tensions. So, people didn't know what was going on. But I remember I was in warm up. I was with Mike Bradley, great running back from Waterloo that played with the Eskimos for a long time. And we did our usual pregame routine. We were on the field about 4 hours before playing with the football.
The power's on at that point, right? The power's on at that point.
Power's on at that point. We're in the Sky Dome. We're in this, huge, cavernous place. And we have no idea what's going on outside. And we, at that point, it wasn't out. And, there was one point where we're doing our warm up and we're playing our game, and you kind of have a mental clock going off, and you're like, well, where's the bus? The guys should be coming off the bus. You should see guys in their suits, the first bus, and it never showed up. And then it's like, well, the second bus is not here. What is going on? And then eventually you see some guys coming through, and they're like, oh man, we have to walk the traffic. Like, all the traffic lights are stopped. The street cars are stopped mid, like it was chaos outside, but we had no clue. Anyhow, to put that story to bed, the league wound up having to postpone the game, and it wasn't played the next day, as is the case in Saskatchewan. We played 2 or 3 days later. So, there's a whole host of things that go on there. First of all, when you're packing for a game and you leave the day before, know you're leaving that day. You plan the right amount of underwear.
How many pairs of underwear and socks do you bring? Right?
Exactly.
You're not planning for a 5-day trip.
You're not planning for even a 2-day trip with a 3-day extension on it, right? And there's no laundry services. And anyhow, so definitely can relate to what was going on in Saskatchewan. I think our deal was a little bit more unexpected and probably a little bit more chaotic because the whole city was in chaos. Like, you don't understand. When we left, that I believe it was a Thursday night or a Wednesday night, when we got out of the Sky Dome, like, downtown Toronto looked like the apocalypse came through and wiped everyone. It would look like the blip in Avengers Endgame, except he blipped everyone out of downtown. Like, cars were stopped in their tracks because
you can't even stay at a hotel in downtown Toronto because there's no lights. You can't even go to the locker. Were there lights in the locker room?
Everything was on generators. All food was being chilled with ice. So you couldn't get everything was off. Like, it was and reserve power for 2 or 3 days until the power came back. So the one thing, Coach Higgins had the connection with the Furzanis, and I remember we all got to go to a sport check and pick out one outfit so that we could have something to wear while we were there. And we wound up practicing, at a I think it was a U of T field and something. But eventually the game was played. And I do believe we won. And you know, the one thing I remember, and we won the Grey Cup that year. And in everyone's Grey Cup ring, there's a little black diamond. Everyone that was on that trip has a black diamond, and that black diamond symbolizes that week in our season, because up until that point, we were, I believe we were 3-1 or 2. No, I think we were 3-1 at that point. And, you know, we had just gone to the Grey Cup the year before. We were 3-1 starting the season off, high expectations for our team. And we already had Terry Jones in the Edmonton Sun calling for Tom Higgins' head. There was a lot going on, right? And they had been calling for Tom Higgins' head every time we lost the game. So here we go. We go to Toronto. We get stuck there 2-3 days. I remember going to have beers with Matt Dunnigan at one of the bars after the postponed game. And, you know, I remember like just doing the circuit of the bars and drinking them, you know, and having their food because they had to get rid of it because it was going to go bad. And I remember all that stuff. But the thing I remember the most is that game was the game that galvanized us and galvanized our resolve to go all the way. And I look at this game on Saturday where a lot of high expectations, right? You know, we were excited to see what this game was going to do. And in the end, you know, the Stampeders had to stay at the U of R. Like it looked like I saw one of the pictures.
In the dorms, and the whole radio crew, everybody. And I don't think they even got there until after midnight.
Oh yeah, for sure, because they were waiting to see if the game was.
There were no hotels, which is just that to me as a player that would drive me nuts. You're gonna
because there was the big country music festival, the Country Thunder or whatever they call it out there.
Yeah.
All the hotels were taken. The Stampeders had the charter that they were going to fly back to Calgary. So when I was listening on the air and the radio, they were saying that because there were no hotels, they would probably have to fly back to Calgary that night and then fly back in the morning to play the game. Instead, I guess they got put up at the dorms at the U of R. But I'm telling you, this is not the 5-star hotels that they're used to staying at. This was like the little crappy dorms. Probably had to pay. I stayed at dorms when I was with the New York Jets in the Hofstra. These, you know, and I saw some of the pictures. It looked like they stayed at the hotel, the Schitt's Creek TV show. It looked like they were staying at that hotel. And, but they come back the next day and they put a whooping on the Riders. Like even Corey Mace in his post-game press conference, he said they put a whooping on us. And for a team that was slowly building, and you saw them handle the Bombers really nicely a week ago, slowly, and then they go ahead with all this adversity and they blast the best team in the league. I don't know, Sheldon. We might be looking at the early contender for the Grey Cup.
I was excited from the time that we brought in Vernon Adams. I always felt the Stampeders had a few problems heading into this season. The offense was stale. The Brent Monson defense, I always felt like Brent didn't understand how to run a proper 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to be fancy. He was good at blitzes, but for fundamentally sound defense, it was garbage. This year, you got a new OC, you got a new DC. You're running a basic 4-3 most of the time, and the guys are so fundamentally sound. I picked Regina. I picked the Riders to win this game because I thought there was no way anybody's stopping Ouellette on first down. AJ Ouellette's been tearing up everybody. He's got 100 yards in the first half. This defense stood tall and absolutely dominated on the line of scrimmage, giving Vernon Adams a chance to get that offense going. And boy, did he ever. VA's been good, but what did he throw for this week? Wasn't it like 420 yards?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna check that up.
It was dynamic, and it was I even though I lost my pick, I love to see it because Calgary's always been such a dominant franchise, good ownership, a lot of resources, is well run since the days of Huffnagel. I mean, we've had more dominant years than we've had off years for sure. But
you're right. He threw for 428.
428.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
I was going to say, let's not forget. Last off season, the Stampeders took an ass kicking in social media, with the media, the player reports, Kadeem Carey coming out saying that the team was like this was not just, I didn't really appreciate. This was like personal attacks on Dave, personal attacks on the organization, the way they do things. And you know what? When you're winning, those things go away, right? Like no one's talking about that right now. And you're right.
You know what it comes back to it too, though. I don't want to keep harping on the CFL's way more than one player, but you need a quarterback. And you know what you need your quarterback to do? Make reads, make smart decisions, and when the ball's delivered, be accurate.
Yeah.
And Vernon Adams has the ability to make the read, find the receiver, and put the ball on point. And that's why they're able to convert on second down, even second and longs. He can move well enough when the blitz comes and still keep his head. So it's absolutely the offense is tailored for him.
Yep.
Our ground game has been good most weeks. The offensive line, they had some issues in week 1 with pass protections. They've corrected that. I like where the Calgary Stampeders are at. I feel they're back to their winning ways, and it just feels right that Calgary should be on the top. But now let me transition to the other game. The Edmonton Elks. Trey Ford. Mark Killam playing the BC Lions against Nathan Rourke, who struggled last season. The Lions struggled a lot because they had like injury problems and all that. But were you surprised at all to see what an ass kicking that was in reverse? Like here's young Trey, not young Trey Ford anymore. I mean, he's 4 or 5 years pro. He's been given the nod to be the starting quarterback for the Edmonton Elks. And he just puts up a stinker like this.
Yeah.
Is this the last we've seen of Trey Ford? Like, what's your thought process if you're Mark Killam right now?
You know, it's tough. It's tough because I wasn't prepared for them to look that bad, but I also was prepared for them to look that bad. So I was in the elevator last year in Edmonton. I was at a game in Edmonton when Chris Jones was the head coach. Or maybe 2 years ago. I think it was last year.
A couple years ago.
Yeah. And I shared an elevator ride with him. And I know Chris because he was my coach in Calgary and in Saskatchewan. And that was when Trey Ford was just emerging, and he was looking pretty good. You know, he was completing some passes. There was some success there. There was some spark. He was a little different. And people were liking him a lot. The media was liking him. The story, the Canadian quarterback, the 4.240 or whatever he ran out of Waterloo. There was a lot of hype around him. And I remember asking Coach Jones at the time, and they were experiencing a little bit of success. I said, how are things going? And I said, looks like they were putting together some wins. He said, yeah. He's like, we got a little guy that can run around back there. And that's kind of what he referred to as coach. Now, say what you want about Chris Jones. Say what you want about like a lot of people have an opinion of him, whether good or bad. Most people in the CFL seem to not have the most favorable opinion of him. But he's a football guy. He knows football. And when you're the head coach referring to your quarterback as a little guy that can run around back there, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence. And this is a guy that can evaluate talent. So
we talked about that before, where that was almost like he wasn't giving him a chance. But was that a fair assessment?
Oh, and that's where I'm getting to now. We're a year and a half later. Mark Killam, I love Mark, but the unfair proposition that Mark had is you're the head coach, but this is your quarterback, and that's a decision that was made was it January? And I don't think that was fair to the head coach, because you're really hamstrung if you got a guy that's developing and that's not equal caliber with all the other starting quarterbacks out there, considering you traded for the guy who won the Grey Cup 2 years ago and pretty much brought his team to within one win of the Grey Cup last year in Cody Fajardo. So I think that, Mark Killam's been dealt a little bit of a bad hand.
So let me ask you, let's speed it up a little bit. So you're saying that Mark Killam, the head coach of the Edmonton Elks, isn't making personnel decisions, or at least heading into the season they had an agenda?
No, well, they already said that when they signed Trey Ford, when Ed Hervey came in as the GM, they named Trey Ford as their day one starting quarterback the day Ed got there.
So let me ask you this then. So that's I remember that, right? And I was excited for it. I want Trey Ford to be a dominant quarterback in this league, but we just saw a dominant Canadian quarterback in BC pick apart a defense, whereas Trey Ford's struggling. I think Trey Ford makes good reads. I think he uses his feet well, but he's not accurate. He keeps missing guys that are there.
I got to go back to Trey. Like our Trey, he wrote the Trey's. He's like, he should get the whole season to develop. Trey, nobody gets a whole season to develop.
That would end Mark Killam's career, and
that would end everybody's career.
That's where I'm taking this right now. If I'm Mark Killam, sure, I agreed to this at the start, and it was a great storyline. It was a great agenda. We're going to promote our Canadian quarterback. I would love to see a great Canadian quarterback stand out in this league, like a Nathan Rourke is doing right now. But if I'm Mark Killam, I got to worry about my own job. Like, let's face it, he said some things that got people going kind of behind him. He's playing the nice guy. But if he gets a label as a guy who's a nice guy and fair to players, but he's an idiot that can't make personnel decisions, or he's powerless to make personnel decisions, right now they've just got the wrong guy, I think, leading that team. Like Jamin writes and says, give him 2 more weeks. Some said give Trey a season. I don't think you have a season. I think as a professional player, as a starter, I think you have a 2 or 3 game window to show that you can play or you can't play, and then you're being replaced.
Why is it any different with NFL guys that go in and become busts? Like, you look at the Jamarcus Russells, and you look at the guys that came out of UFC. What's his name? Pretty boy that played at USC for a long time. He went to the Jets, and he did what's his name? Carson Palmer. I don't know. Palmer, no, not Carson Palmer, the other guy. But anyhow, like, Trey seems to think in fantasy world here that teams will just accept losing when they got someone in the wings that can win, and that coaches want to lose. Because you know what happened when Coach Jones was trying to find a quarterback? The biggest mistake Coach Jones made a couple of years ago is not bringing in a starting quarterback the year before. When he took over, he had Trey Ford, and he had that other guy, not McLeod Bethel Thompson, but the year before.
I remember. Yeah.
Cletus.
I know who you're talking about.
Nobody remembers his name. And nobody remembers his name was supposed to be a starting quarterback. Well, guess what? That guy didn't last. And Trey Ford, the only thing that he has going for him is that he was a Canadian draft pick, and there was a lot of pressure last year on Coach Jones to play his little running quarterback. And he didn't want to. And that got Coach Jones fired. And, if they keep playing this guy, Taylor Cornelius. There you go. Who remembers that guy?
Well, not winning games got Chris Jones fired.
But you're not going to win if you got a guy that's not ready to throw the ball. And he was in a rock and a hard place too, because he was being told by everyone that they should be playing Trey Ford, and Trey Ford wasn't ready, and he evaluated as such. And now we're in a situation where he's kind of proven that he makes some great plays. And a lot of those plays come with his legs. But the best quarterbacks in the CFL are not guys that run and get yards. They're the guys that scramble and make passes.
Yeah.
And, Doug Flutie wasn't a guy that ran for 1,000,000 yards. Once in a while he did. But the reason he was so good is because he could elude guys, and at the same time he's making his reads. And I don't see that yet in Trey Ford. And I don't know if he has.
I see him making the reads, but I don't see him being accurate. And that was my whole problem with what's his name we had in Calgary last year, now backing up for
Jake Mayer.
Jake Mayer. He did some good things. His decision-making was actually worse, and he wasn't accurate. Trey Ford has an accuracy problem. Very athletic dude. But if I'm sitting here, if I'm Mark Killam today, I've got Bajardo sitting there as my number 2, and I'm losing games week in and week out. I'm 1-4, 1-3.
Yeah.
I've got Bajardo.
I'm making the switch.
I think Trey Ford right now would be an amazing Strevler, an amazing Tommy Stevens. Put him to number 2, put him to number 3, put him in on your short yardage, use him to help you win games. Because as a head coach, you only have one job, and that is, in order to keep my job, I have to win games. And they've got the tools that are there, and they've got to stop playing this experiment. Find a way to work him in. But Mark Killam will go down with the quarterback.
The only way he doesn't go down is if, when they made the decision to put Trey Ford in, Ed Hervey also said, Mark, listen, no matter what happens, you're going to face a lot of heat. We're going to go all season with this guy. We're going to give him a chance. If he doesn't, then we're going to start over the next year. That's very rare in professional sports. Maybe they're doing that in Edmonton, but that is the only way that is happening. And Trey says the dumbest thing was Trey, you're wrong. The smartest thing Edmonton did was trading for Fajardo. They got a quarterback that can win a Grey Cup. Like, he could step in next week and make them a competitor. And the great thing about the CFL is they're not handing out Grey Cups in June. They're not handing them out in July. But if you make a good push by the end of October, even in for that crossover spot, you got an opportunity. And because of the poor play of some of the other teams, we're talking about Ottawa, we're talking about Toronto not getting off to a big start. Edmonton still has a chance. They just got to figure it out. Is it going to be with Trey and maybe he's going to develop, or are they going to make a switch and maybe make a push? So we'll see how that pans out.
And Trey just writes in saying, you guys are officially a part of the old guys club. No, Trey, we might be the old guys club. We might be pushing 50, and in my case, just over that bar. But we also played a lot of seasons in the CFL. We've seen a lot of things come and go. And even Chev, when you say the GM promises you'll keep your job if you stick with this guy for the year. Yeah, right.
That ain't going to happen.
Ed Hervey gets the same pressure on him that Mark Killam's going to get to win. And Mark Killam's the low man on the totem pole. So,
Trey's giving us a prompt.
Trey's flexing on us. Oh my God. So Trey, if you guys are just listening to the show right now, Trey brings up the CFL pick and pool where he is in front of both Chevy and I in terms of the rankings. But
I think we're all tied. We're tied.
Looks
like we're tied.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, we are.
And I forgot to do my picks one week. So Trey, don't flex too hard, buddy. But you know what? That is a good prompt for next week. And for all of you guys, make sure you get your picks. And we're still all chasing Cool Raj, and that's Roger Reinson, 4 Grey Cup rings. He seems to know a thing or two about CFL football because he's on top, and he's been on top since week 1. And then another few people there that I don't know. But Trey, you're doing a good job with your picks. But if we're looking ahead to next week, a lot of good matchups. Calgary's playing Montreal. Montreal is a good team. Yeah. It's another opportunity for Calgary to climb that mountain. They're not facing duds. They haven't faced Edmonton yet. They haven't faced Ottawa yet, and they're slowly picking apart the Giants. And this is going to be another test. Edmonton, Saskatchewan. Do we fully expect?
Let me ask you. Wrong week, dude.
No, I am
week 7. Stamps are the Bombers.
Sorry, my bad.
Matchup.
I went ahead.
Argonauts and Alouettes, which we'll see what the Argos do. The Riders and Lions. So again, the 2 best games of the week are completely in the West.
Yeah, and Trey Ford's going to have the best week of his season because he's not playing. He's not playing. But yeah, no, you know what? Again, the Stamps to me are involved in the game of the week because can they do it again? Can they keep the pace of slaying the Giants? I mean, I did skip ahead, but yeah, they got a tough schedule. They got Winnipeg, they got Montreal, and then who do they got after that? I'm sure they got a bye week coming up, and then they hit Ottawa. So if they can put together a stretch of 2 real solid games, they're going to do well. And then I think the next game for me to watch is Saskatchewan, BC, because I don't know what BC is. I don't know. You could beat Edmonton.
Yeah,
you could beat, but can they beat Saskatchewan? And Saskatchewan, can they recover from really getting their asses whooped? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting week, but guys, get your picks in. The other thing I want to draw some attention, 2 things I want to draw some attention to before we take a break. One, week 7 will also feature the return of Milt Stegall to the broadcast booth. For those of you that don't know, Milt Stegall, longtime Hall of Fame CFL player with the Bombers, also part of the TSN broadcast crew. His son passed away earlier this year, and he took a bunch of time off, obviously and naturally. You couldn't imagine what he's going through. I have a few friends that have lost children, and I know how it's affected them, so I can't even imagine what he's going through. But the CFL will welcome Milt back, and we're all happy for him. I remember sending him a note earlier in the year, and he responded, and he was very gracious. And I think he might need CFL now just as much as CFL needs him. We talk about purpose. We talked about in the earlier segment, when something's gone, how do you replace it? You might not replace it, but you got to redirect your energy and find something to cling on to. And I think this will be good for Milt.
You can't change it.
No, you definitely can't change it. The other thing I want to draw attention to more locally on a positive note, we're going to have the Calgary Minor Football Jamboree coming up in August, and that I believe is August 16th down at Shouldice. And this is a fantastic display of local Calgary football athletes. Our sons played and the Bantam team together for the Mavericks, but every local team is going to be playing in this jamboree, from the midget teams to the Atom teams to the not the midget, but the Bantams, the Peewees, and the Atoms. And they also have a raffle. And there's a link to the raffle box there. And all the proceeds from this jamboree every year have been going to support the Ronald McDonald House. I know the people that run Calgary minor football, from the Al Coopers of the world, to the Jim Krishanes. These people are good people. Ron Logan, great people. They're the people that built those football fields along with Spalatinis and Greg Peterson. They're the people that invest in the young boys and girls that play our sport, a sport that is not full of riches like maybe some of the others in town. And, this is one opportunity for the sport to give back. But, it relies on people like you and me and, to show up and cheer these kids on and maybe contribute to the $2 that it costs to get in to watch some great football on a Saturday afternoon and maybe buy a raffle ticket. You never know. So Calgary Minor Football Jamboree, it's August 16th. I'm going to confirm that right now. And we'd love to see you guys there. I'll be most likely coaching the Mavericks Bantam, where my son Kyle plays. And we just want to give them a plug because it's good people and it's a good cause. So with that, Sheldon, I know we've had a great show so far, from the first segment talking mental health to this big week of CFL action for the Stamps and the Elks. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll wrap this thing up. We'll have a little bit of fun. You guys know where to find us. We're at Chevy and Nasty, from Facebook to Spotify. We're on all those channels. Look us up, like, subscribe, and please share. We love to grow our community, and we love that we meet with you guys on a Tuesday night. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
And welcome back. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. We went a little long, but I kind of enjoyed that show. This kind of feels like our back in the day.
Yeah.
When we actually use this just to catch up and talk and tell some stories and
disagree with Trey. It's nice to have Trey's voice in that, because sometimes you and I agree too much, and not too much, but we agree because we agree and we have similar points of view. Sometimes we don't. And to have a third voice in there that tries to poke us and poke us off our track, like young Trey calling us old men, it's fun to have that dynamic. And again, we talk about that community we built here, the team, the A-team. It looks like we're in the A-team van with the black and red, and it's fun. You're right. It does feel like times of old. And, to wrap this up tonight, we usually do studs and duds. I thought we'd change it up a little bit tonight. Instead of studs and duds, why don't we do studs or duds, where we pick something that's topical and we decide if it's a stud or the person involved is a stud or a dud. You want to do that?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great call.
Studs and duds.
All right. So Sheldon, this is the first one I have for you. So, Teddy Bridgewater, I won't say great, but very good NFL quarterback. He was kind of a journeyman. He was a first round draft pick, ended up with the Detroit Lions, retired last year, and went back to coach high school football team. I believe is in Florida. I don't know if it was his old football team, but it is his former high school in Miami. And I guess, he's an NFLer, a quarterback, made lots of money. And he's been suspended from coaching because he's been providing his former high school players with financial benefits. Like we're talking about like Uber rides to and from practice, buying them dinners, like all kinds of stuff. So the question is he a stud for using his own personal wealth to make his team better, or is he a dud because he's providing the team with an unfair advantage? We just talked. Sorry, we just talked in the last segment how football is not a sport of riches, and I think that's kind of America wide. That it's kind of we attract our sport attracts guys.
Let me clear this up. This is an absolute 100% stud. Do we criticize teachers for buying their own supplies to give a better experience in the classroom? No, we don't. We honor them. This is a guy that's got the means, and I get why they don't like it because it's not fair. Because if I'm going to a have-not school, then I'm not getting these same benefits. But life isn't fair. You know what's happening at those other schools is the dad who's got a business is also supporting the team, sponsoring it, paying for lunches, buying pizza for the guys. This is the coach using his own money to motivate the guys. And let's face it, Chev, if you were on that team, if you're experiencing that, you love it. You love the guy.
For sure.
Right? It's an amazing experience. It's his own money. Nobody's getting hurt. Yes, I get that. I get that not every team has that same advantage, but it's not like you're playing the guys. You're buying them pizza. You're making sure they show up on time to practice. I love it.
Yeah. I think it's great too. I mean, does it provide a bit of an unfair advantage? Yes. But you know what? It happens everywhere and it happens in all kinds of sports. And I think his heart was in the right place. I mean, he can't control what's happening on other teams. And it kind of makes me think about, I won't talk about U.S. college because, again, now with the NIL, it's not really relatable, but a lot of that stuff was going on before the NIL was in place. Like guys were getting paid way before this ever happened. Only certain schools came out, when you find out USC was playing Reggie Bush. But I remember stories when I got in the NFL, guys, how they said they committed to a school and then all of a sudden they got paid all kinds of money to go somewhere else. So this type of stuff is happening. And I'm sure it's even happening in the other schools that he competes against. But you look at Laval, University of Laval, the Rouge et Or. For years, their team is kind of semi-private in the sense that they have a local business person that basically bankrolls the entire team. Kind of a different model than I believe all other schools in the CIS. Maybe UFC is similar in terms of the alumni support and the money that rolls in, but the city, the school controls the money, I believe. Whereas in Laval, the football ops department controls the money, and they used to do training camp every year in Florida. Now, I mean, the challenge is everyone was complaining, like all the other schools are complaining, but I don't see all the other schools, whether it's my alma mater, the McGills of the world, or the Ottawas or UT, is going to local businesses or even alumni and saying, hey, why don't you help us compete with the Lavals of the world? You're the president of Scotiabank, Mr. former McGill football player. Why don't you get Scotiabank to bankroll our team so we could do
and that frustrates me so much, Chev, because that's Canada. We apologize for success, whereas Americans would call that best practices, and that's the new standard we have to compete. Even a school like Iowa State, boosters were huge. How did my coaches come down in a Learjet from Ames, Iowa to North Battleford, Saskatchewan? It wasn't on their coaching salaries. It was by boosters who are alumni and sponsors. It's the best thing in the world to get people engaged. And as long as Canada keeps resisting this kind of thing, we will never be great. And that's why I think it's a shame that this guy got suspended. I love it.
No, I think he's a stud. When you put your own money into something, like you said, you don't criticize teachers. And I know some of the best teachers put a lot of their own money into their classrooms to making it a welcoming space for those kids. I think he's doing the same thing. Absolute stud. Even Trey agrees that he's a stud.
There you go.
let's move on to the next one. Cincinnati Bengals draft pick. Can you put it up, Trey? Because I keep forgetting his name. Stewart. He's been in a contract impasse with the Bengals. Didn't want to sign the contract with them. There's some wording in the contract that maybe he doesn't agree with. Maybe his agent doesn't agree with. But the matter here is that Shamir Stewart. That's it. I was thinking Shadir. Shamir Stewart, first round draft pick of the Bengals. He doesn't want to sign, and looks like he might be going back to school. Now, in the old days, you'd be like, well, you're going back to school. You're going to give up all that money, even if it's not the money you wanted to go back to school. Well, hold on a minute. This guy probably stands to make millions of dollars going back to play in his final college season or whatever college season is, and then recommit to the draft the following year. Is Shamir Stewart stud or dud for taking this path and exploring this option?
For me, I'll give you a quick answer on this one. I don't like it. To me, this is a dud. It's a dud move. I declare myself eligible for the NFL draft. It's a big moment. It's a career transition. It's not a dip your toe in and see what happens. Hey, who gets the first draft picks in a draft? Is the teams with the worst records. Well, here you got a chance to go play for the Cincinnati Bengals, dude.
Yeah.
You put yourself as eligible for the draft. You get drafted to a great team. And quite frankly, the minutia of the contract, unless it was a garbage contract, which I promise you it was not. I don't like this mindset. I don't understand this mindset of pulling out and saying, well, I'll just keep going back to college until I get drafted by a team that gives me the contract I want. I think that's a step too far for me. He's a dud.
Well, in my opinion, I think he's a stud. I mean, we've seen this in the NHL, guys getting drafted as 14-year-olds or 16-year-olds and then just not going to NHL camps and then, playing out professionally in Europe and then recommitting and getting drafted later on. There is precedence for this in other sport. There's also
getting drafted later on or going free agency later on. I think
getting drafted again. No, I think guys can get redrafted in the NHL. I know Trey's the big hockey guy. He'll let me know, but I've seen this before. And then the other thing is, we've seen this before with guys that decide they don't want to play for a certain team. I mean, Eli Manning, who will go to the Hall of Fame, when he got drafted, he said, I do not want to play for the San Diego Chargers. Trade me or I will not play. And was he going to hold out? Was he going to, he eventually became the Eli Manning that we all know and love and that Tom Brady hates. But he got an opportunity to say, hey, I don't like this deal. And he got his own deal. Shamir Stewart might not have the opportunity to say, hey, I don't want to play for the Bengals. I'll play for someone else. And he's not even saying I don't want to play for the Bengals, but he's saying if you don't give me what I want, I've got a perfectly good option to go back to play in college. Now, the opportunity cost there is that if he goes to college and gets hurt, then that might be the end of his financial earnings. But I think it's a stud move. He's going to go back to Texas. And as Trey's saying right now, that NIL, the NCAA, it's the wild, wild west. He'll probably get millions of dollars to do this. And he might be setting a precedent for other guys that, hey, come, I don't think it's a great precedent.
To wreck the draft, yeah.
Wreck the draft. But you know what? I'll also say this. The draft has already been broken because guys, like even Johnny Manziel, he said it today. There was a quote. He said, I could have been a great NFL player. I had all the tools. He takes on a lot of the responsibility himself for being a dud, but he also went to a team that has historically been very bad, the Cleveland Browns. And they've ruined guys' careers just for the fact that the organization was crap. And the Raiders were the same. And for a long time, the Cardinals were the same. And those teams constantly get rewarded. And they take great players that were great college players, and those guys get labeled busts. And you wonder, why is that guy a bust? And a lot of times, people don't turn their attention to the team they went on. Ryan Leaf was a bust. He went to the Chargers, that same Chargers team that a couple of years later, Eli Manning didn't want to go to. Why?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, I'm not saying he's a dud. I'm saying he's a stud because for some reasons, this isn't the right fit for him and he's playing out his options. So for me, total stud move, especially in today's market. It's a business. You even said it. You said it, Sheldon. I was like naive saying, hey, Ed Hervey promised Mark Killam that if he goes with Trey Ford till the rest of the season, he'll still be the guy. And guess what? You're absolutely right in pointing out that guys will pull the wool out from under you in a second if they can. And that's what pro sports is. From being a rookie to being a 20-year vet, you got to watch out for yourself. And I think this guy's watching out for himself. So good on him. Final stud or dud, Sheldon. It's gone viral. A lowly golf course outside of Red Deer, Alberta. We have who is it there? Former NHL tough guy. How do you say his name? Ternasky. Got into a fight. Nick Ternasky. I don't even know who he played for, but the thing went viral. He was on a golf course asking guys ahead of him to hurry up. Guy got mouthy, got in his face, and Ternasky just fed him. Do we have the video here, Trey? I know we got you last minute when you're coming in hot, but if we got the video here, this video, if you missed it, is Nick Ternasky feeding some dude.
Drive the fuck up there or you're gonna get booted the fuck out of here. I know, we're fine. Enough. You're not a tough guy. Hurry up. I'll fucking promise you that. Hurry up. He's pretty tough. Not that fucking tough.
No, he's not.
Not that fucking tough.
He's not tough.
We gotta bleep this out.
He's not tough. You're not tough.
Hey,
You're not tough.
Let's get going.
Get going.
Or you can play behind us all and you can take all the fucking time you want.
It's
This is
golf.
fucking
You're not
embarrassing.
tough.
This is golf. This is not golf.
It's not.
You can stand there 15 fucking minutes.
You
That's
can't
not
even.
golf.
You guys can't even stand.
All right, do we need to see the whole thing?
Yeah, well, no, we don't want to see the whole thing and the swearing.
Fucking lake is what's gonna happen.
Let's
No,
cut
fuck you
to
both.
the.
Well,
This is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, let's cut to the. We
They've
need
been
the. We
sitting
need
there
the.
for fucking 23 minutes.
Well, try about it. Fucking try about it.
I'm going to.
Fucking try
I'm
about
gonna
it.
fucking
You
try about
fucking
it.
pussy.
I'm a pussy.
Like, fucking try about it.
Buddy, you're
Yeah.
gonna get fucking
I mean, we have
I
all
don't
seen this
give a
guy
fuck.
before,
Badly.
right?
Good. Let's
Fucking
fucking
bad
go,
news.
man.
Buddy, you don't want to go me.
No, I'm not filming this. I'm not stopping. No,
I don't know what
you guys need to get off the golf course.
Yeah,
Let's
we will,
fucking
man.
go now. Like,
I don't know
pack
what-
up, go now. Get in your car and go.
I don't know what you're doing. You're not scaring anybody. You're just making yourself.
What an idiot.
Hey,
Oh my God.
man. Come on, man. Hey.
Off to a good start, buddy. I fucking told you.
Man, leave him alone. You want another?
He
You
just
want one
fucking
too?
came at me.
Leave him alone, man. I got it all on record.
It's around the goal.
I got it all on record.
Around the goal. Bang!
Man.
Hey,
You want to fucking go, guys?
leave him alone. Hey, leave him alone, man.
I wouldn't be going back, you fucking moron.
Hey,
Bang!
come on, man.
Bang!
I'm not trying to get in there. Like fuck.
Enough! Are you still cheering on you?
Yeah.
Enough! Get out!
Hey.
Enough!
Hey, leave him.
Get him the fuck out of here! No, it's not gonna go well.
It's not okay.
Take him home or get him.
So you're asking me if that was a stud move or a dud move on Ternasky's part?
The crazy thing is, like, I haven't seen the whole video like that. I've seen the cut up version without all the swearing and stuff. And I do apologize for those that did get
nobody,
it.
nobody cares. You apologize to us because the show's not going to get promoted now because of that. We'll have to bleep that out.
No, but it's just I didn't expect. So I've seen the parts where he's punching, but it does give the context that he was trying to get them moving ahead, and the guy lunged at him and stuff. And so, I guess the question is Nick Ternasky stud or dud for what he did?
He's a stud for this reason, and this reason. I'm not glorifying the violence on the golf course. I think like face punching competitions are best left off of the golf course. Now, in this case, so you have a guy, you challenge them because they're drunk and they're holding up the course, disrespectful to everybody on the court. All he did was ask to go ahead, and I'm sure there's a few choice words along with it. This drunk guy would not back down. And I think we've all been in that situation before where if it hadn't happened to you, you've seen it. The guy does not know when to back down. And I'll even put that on his buddies. Dude, your buddies should grab you and get you out of there. The reason Ternasky's a stud on this is because the very first thing he did is threw him in the lake.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. The
Then
guy lunged at him.
Guy lunged at him. He throws him in the lake. Then the guy comes back at him again. And Tarnowski gives him the old bang, bang. I'm telling you, I've seen enough fights in my time. He's given him about 40 or 50% on those punches. He's holding back. You can tell his adrenaline's peaking because he's starting to get louder and more vocal and swearing at the guy. But to me, that's just giving him more of a verbal thing saying, dude, this will only escalate from here. I think unless you just don't believe that fighting is right ever in society, which I disagree with, I think he handled himself with so much composure and held himself back. He didn't injure the guy, right?
Yeah.
If he really wanted to injure this drunken guy who could hardly stand up and kept coming at him, this guy would have been in the hospital.
Yeah.
It was complete restraint. I love it.
Yeah. It is interesting because again, you think, I thought, maybe first I thought maybe he'd get charges. We talked about this when the one guy grabbed the woman's ass, right? In the bar, and the guy fed him. We're like, well, that's charges.
That guy fed him 100%.
Yeah.
That was intent to injure. I mean, that was totally
we talked about this when Rory McIlroy grabbed the guy's phone. Grabbed his phone, right? And we talked, oh no, that's right. We talked about this when Jason Kelsey was walking through a crowd of people and someone was right in his face with a camera calling names about his brother, right? And he grabbed the phone and he had to apologize. So it was kind of along this context where we're like, okay, this may or may not work. But having seen the whole video and watching that the guy lunged at him, the first move was throw him in the water. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I was initially going to say he was a dud, but I flipped it because, again, as much as I didn't want to see the whole video there, I do believe he started as a stud. And you're right. The guy did apologize, Jamin. He went on nationally. He apologized. He said he played 32 rounds of golf, got hammered with his buddies. And for lack of, he got what he deserved. And this is the thing, Nick, his life was as an enforcer in the NHL. He made his way fighting. Not you poke the bear, you can't unring the bell, right? Once the bear wakes up, the bear's awake. And I think, like you said, he tried to show some restraint, and no normal human being getting into a fight and punching a guy, screaming bang as you punch him. There's a few screws loose in that man, Nick, Tarnowski. There's a few screws loose. And the fact that he was showing that much restraint and throw him in the lake, and the guy still came at him. By the time he got swinging, that he was seeing red. Because again, I've been in a couple of tilts and I've been in a couple of scraps, and I never yelled bang as I was punching someone. I never did that because I'm not that crazy. If I'm doing it, it's because I was defending myself. It wasn't like the switch went off and next thing you know, I'm in, the mode.
I don't think the switch went off. Like that was like when adrenaline's peaking though, you do like saying bang was a little over the top.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I wouldn't even think of doing it. It's funny to watch it.
Absolutely.
Trust me, if you see an NHL guy, because I have fought an NHL enforcer before when I worked in the bars in Red Deer. Another story for another episode.
Yeah.
They come from here. Like it comes from far back and it comes fast. This guy's just square shoulders and just feeding him with that big old friggin' gorilla fist of his. But he's not winding up, and he's giving him about 40 to 50% velocity.
Oh yeah, he didn't crush him. He wasn't trying to kill him or knock him out, but he was trying to let him know, hey, listen, you mess with the wrong dude. I tried, and you're still coming. And he said, you got to get your buddy out here. But
Chevy, do you want to hear the outcome of my fight with the NHL enforcer?
I do, but I thought
you're going to have to tune into another week, folks, because I think that's all the time we've got for tonight.
Well,
Chevy,
wait.
This idea. I'll give you the last one. I love this idea of stud or dud, dude. I can do this every week. I love it
because it's just having a take on something going on. It might be sports, but you know what? It's a great segue. Like we're such professional radio hosts. We brought up Adam Sandler in the first segment when we talked about Spaceman. A great show you can watch on Netflix. And because of this whole golf fight, we're able to bring up Adam Sandler again and talk about the release next week of Happy Gilmore 2. So that's coming up. I believe it's July 25th. So next Friday it's coming out. And, we talk about Nick Tarnowski feeding this guy. Maybe this was all just an elaborate ploy to get people interested in hockey players on the golf, bear with me, hockey players on the golf course getting into fights and get people geared up. Like right now, everybody's craving a little bit more of bang, bang, bang. Well, where are they going to get it? Happy Gilmore Part 2. So I'm conspiracy theorying on this. I'm thinking that this was all an elaborate ploy to get a viral golf hockey fight video out in anticipation of Happy Gilmore 2, which Happy Gilmore 1, one of the greatest movies ever. Hey,
I love it. Can I take 20 seconds here? I'm just going to break
You
down.
take
this
it.
movie.
You
I heard something
go.
that fascinated me this week. I haven't even ChatGPT'd it to see if it's true.
Okay.
I heard that the role of Bob Barker was originally offered to Ed McMahon of like the Tonight Show, right?
Yeah,
It was going to
yeah,
be Ed McMahon. He reviewed the script and he said, this is way too, there's too much cursing. There's too much violence. This is not on brand for me. And he turned it down. So they went to Bob Barker as number 2. Bob Barker reviews the script, reviews his role, and he comes back to the producers and says, I only have one condition. I will be in this movie, but I have one condition. I win the fight. And the rest is history. I love it. Bob Barker was not, you talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't cheer for fights. Dude, there are going to be fights in society. This was a just one. The Bob Barker fight in Happy Gilmore was awesome. And the only thing he wanted to do was make sure that he walked out the winner.
Well, I'm gonna watch that movie again. I'm really excited for Happy Gilmore 2. I loved Happy Gilmore 1 with late Carl Weathers as was in that. Obviously Adam Sandler, Bob Barker, great film. I guess, yeah, Shooter McGavin, Rob Schneider in that movie. So I'm sure it's gonna be good. It's gonna be formula, just like Jurassic Park. The newest one was formula. This will be the formula for Happy Gilmore, but. Definitely this lowly little golf club outside of Red Deer sets up a great anticipation for Happy Gilmore 2. We hope you have great anticipation for the Ride with Chevy and Nasty episode 84 next week. We're going to be back next Tuesday night, God willing. I think he is. Follow us on Facebook. Instagram, YouTube is where you watch our show. Tomorrow will be, or even later on tonight, we'll be live or down on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. We love having you guys out. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. And guys, remember, spay and neuter your pets. You'll be back here next week right on the ride.
Love it.